Hello friends, family and other creatures of the sea. Welcome back to another best of 5 here today. Between in the bottom left as our blue Zerg player playing for Team Guangdong Freaks. It's none other than soO. And in the top right as our red Protoss player playing for Team Dragon Phoenix Gaming. It's going to be Zest. Best of 5 between these two players, always exciting. Zest is a player that I respect greatly. And often in a best of 5, you get to see a pretty decent look into his mind. What does he believe is currently the strongest? Zest is a player that likes to repeat the same build again and again, and then maybe have one or two curveballs in his toolbox as well, or in his set of builds that he usually rotates in. So there's usually some type of charge lot all in. There's usually some type of double Stargate play in there as well with some Phoenixes. We've seen these builds come back time after time again. It seems like Zest actually opted to go for a hatch block with his initial probe, but didn't quite end up working. What is this? Wait, what? Does soO believe that this is a cannon rush? I guess that's really the only thing that makes any sense whatsoever. Okay, there's going to be a third hatch. I'm really confused what's happening here. I just don't understand this whatsoever. What? It feels like this is some high-level AI making the moves here. That drone movement was absolutely out of this world weird. This actually costs soO a decent chunk of money as well. Not mining with 2 workers for, what, like 35 seconds or so. That's actually going to end up costing like 60, 70 minerals. Really quite odd as a starter. Now, he did get the hatchery on the natural, which is great, but this is not the early game that soO was hoping for. At home, on Zest's side of things, we see a pylon being built, second gas being taken here, and this Overlord reaches the high ground for the first time. Cybernetic score is about to finish up in 0 seconds from now. 2:15 is when it finishes. That is extremely late, even for an early scout. Usually anything past 2:12 I would consider a late cybernetic score finish. So 2:15 is a solid 3 seconds delayed. That's just a little bit sloppy there in the early game. There's no real reason for that. The start is going to be a quick warp gate after the Stargate. And no chrono so far on this adept. That makes, well, I guess he didn't get the block off. So not getting a chrono on the adept makes some sense here. Warp gates being researched, second adept on the way as well. We see double chronos, I guess, here. No, 1 chrono is actually being saved. That could be to throw on this Stargate or to be used later on maybe a Twilight Council if Zest opts to go for that. Second unit will be a Stalker here, and the Oracle is going to get chronoed out. Once a Stalker pops out, this Overlord most likely is just going to fall. That's just the reality of things. There's nothing I can really do about that. It's just going to die. There's no way to run here. Yes, he could try and run towards his dead space, but it's extremely unlikely. If Zest just positions this Stalker well, this is a dead Overlord, and I think this is indeed going to be a dead Overlord. Speed's about to finish up. We still have a single worker in gas here for soO, so wants to continue a little bit of gas mining at least. Stalker will start working on this Overlord as well, and this Overlord, like I said, is going to fall right now. Ooh, 4th pylon gets built here behind the gateway rather than near the 3rd base location. Usually you do need a pylon there to kind of tuck that adept in right next to the nexus, or you can build a pylon here or a pylon here or a pylon here. That gives your adept a bit of extra safety in case 12 to 14 links show up. It means that these adept can't be surrounded as easily, and that will allow you to move out a lot quicker with these initial oracles. Double oracles are out, 3rd oracle is on the way. What are these 2 adepts going to be doing is the question right now. 2 more adepts are getting warped in as gas 3 and 4 get taken. 3rd oracle is on the way. None of these oracles have actually made their way across the map yet. Really late spores coming in as well here for soO. That means that he spent a lot of extra time mining with these drones, and that means that his eco is going to be quite good here. 7 extra drones as well. No Roach Warren yet. Second gas being taken already. This is a fantastic start for soO. soO is going to be extremely happy, except with the fact that he's supply blocked at this point. So that is the only real major downside here. It's going to be a big supply block as well. Single Overlord coming out now, but that is the full, what was it? Maybe like a full 30, 35 seconds already here in What seems to be a 5-minute game so far. And as a result, these adepts could actually deal a little bit of damage. There's no links here whatsoever. Actually, that's not true. There's 4 links, 4 more on the way. Now 20 links get built immediately the moment that next Overlord finished up. But these links could have already been producing. Luckily for soO, these adepts are not trying to actually finish a shade. And the queens will be capable of saving the day, at least for now. Well, one of these queens might actually end up falling. Oracle's looking for some damage. There's not a single spore here in this natural. That means that these thrones do need to be pulled. soO is controlling this really well. And for how bad this could have been, you know, without the links and all of that stuff, I feel like this ended up being pretty okay. Overlord in the main base going to get taken out by this Stalker. We have 2 links taking out 2 probes. soO mechanically is insanely strong, by the way. I'd like to just kind of put a flag there where everyone can see it. Is that soO mechanically, before he went to the military, I think was one of the greatest Zergs. It's just so quick, good creep threat, insane Ling Bane control, good Mutalisk harass as well. The question is that still the case? And I think the answer is actually yes. I still believe that soO has extremely solid mechanics. soO is one of the players as well that, while he was, I think, rank 1 on StarCraft 2 Korean ladder, he also was rank 1 in Brood War ladder. He was rank 1 in 2 different games at the same time. This was 2.5, 3 years ago or so. Absolutely fantastic player, and that just shows, I mean, if you can get rank 1 in Brood War and StarCraft, that just the basics, the mechanics are going to be extremely solid. Because both games, of course, extremely mechanically taxing. We have 2 extra hatcheries, one in the main base, so a macro hatch here. That's weird, as there is a Roach War, and then we're seeing mutas being constructed already as well. There's a bunch of extra gates being constructed right now. So we have this move out here for Zest. I feel like this is a good situation though for soO. These mutas are going to try and fly around, maybe deal some probe damage. If they get, let's say, 8 to 9 workers, Zest is going to be completely all in with this push. That is kind of starting at this point. A couple of creep tumors can be taken out. Adepts moving in as well. Observer is here. Oracle's just kind of guarding this army, making sure that nothing can jump on it. Indeed, the mutas are starting to fly towards the far left side. Baneling speed is just now starting. Roach speed has already finished. There's not a single upgrade, but the link count is fantastic. 4 banelings will help against the adepts, but against nothing else. No battery. No cannon here in the natural. And the moment that these mutas show up, Zest just warped something, and I don't think he has a warp in available. He's going to need to pull the trigger, and that's exactly what he's doing right now. Starts taking out more and more creep tumors. These probes are trying to move towards safety. 52 workers remaining for Zest, 80 workers remaining for soO, and there's just way too much Zerg over here. There is no way that Zest will be capable of cracking this. This is a nut that is just a little bit too tough, and yeah, Zest is going to need to buy a new set of teeth after trying to eat this bad boy. This is not looking too good. 11 workers have been taken out. Mutas continue roaming around the map. GG gets called. soO wins game number 1. Very dominant fashion here on Glittering Ashes. And after an impressive game like that on Glittering Ashes, the question is, can soO repeat that type of level of play here? Once again, that early game looking so solid as well. Despite the 74-74 Overlord supply block. That was a little bit painful, but everything else just looked super clean. And Zest, honestly, if I wouldn't have seen the name, I don't think I would have said, well, that is a top player right there. Extremely passive with his oracles. Initial oracle adept move out did nothing, despite there being 0 links. Like, that's a 6 adept investment into a push that ends up doing nothing whatsoever. That's obviously not the correct call then. If nothing is there to defend and you manage to deal 0 damage, then you should be rethinking your push, or you should be rethinking your execution. If you're not capable of punishing anything, then why are you doing this? You're not forcing out units, you're not dealing damage if there are no units. So what's the point? It would be way better to get quicker gateways in that case, because let's not forget, every single time you warp an adept, it delays your gateways, it delays your infrastructure. Adepts are units that fall off massively into a mid-game. They're completely useless, even if they do have glaives. The moment roaches with speed are out, the moment banelings hit the field, the adept falls off a freaking cliff. That's kind of what we saw in that last game as well. We saw 6 adepts in that army, but they contribute absolutely 0, none, nada in that army. that consists of very little units in general. I mean, that was a 7-minute push with, what, 12 Stalkers, 6 Adepts and 3 Oracles. Yeah, no crap, it's not going to work. Of course it isn't going to work, unless you deal some damage in the early game. But you can't play like this. You can't play an aggressive opener and then play it passively. That is not how StarCraft 2 works. If you're investing into an early game attack, you need to do something with that early game attack. And if that something is forcing out a lot of units at a timing where Zerg is uncomfortable, then that's okay. But that's not what happened whatsoever. soO had a fantastic drone count. He was holding with 7 queens and a very small amount of links behind that. He panic built 24 links, but technically he could have held this with like 12 extra links or so. He would have been up way further in drones than he was in that last game even. And last game already was a complete disaster for Zest. Ooh, this is a quick Roach Warren. It's kind of interesting. This is going to be a 2-base Roach Rush. A 2-base Roach bust, I should actually say. There's no real follow-up available here. No real follow-up possible for soO. This Adept is not allowed to go across the map. Okay, it does get cancelled. That is extremely good news for Zest. Zest is not aware that there is no... that there's no base here, by the way. That is extremely unfortunate. Well, he knows there was no base there last time he checked, but he hasn't rechecked yet. Yeah, we have a 3rd pylon on the way. Oracle first right now. A bunch of links are being produced as well. I actually think that soO is just straight up going to win this game. There's not enough units. No 3rd gateway unit on the way. There's not going to be a Void Ray popping out here either. Oh no, there is actually. Void Ray could be good if this Oracle ends up scouting the Roaches. Ooh. Oracle saw these links at least, but not the Roaches yet. Do we get some vision on these Roaches? Please? Please? Oh my god, barely missing it. Links making their way across the map. Now he sees a Roach, immediately turn back home. Build a battery at home, full wall behind this. No, that should be a Cybercore here, Zest. You want to be building bigger buildings. Also probably want to not have all of these batteries touching in case Ravagers do end up showing up. I think we're going to see maybe 1 Ravager. No, it does not seem to be the case. I mean, Zest just holds now. Man, that was a very tight scout. Pylon is going to be taken out. Oracle takes care of the links. We see the Void Ray taking care of this Ravager and the Roaches. Probes are being pulled right now. These 2 Adepts are actually in a little bit of trouble, perhaps. 1 more Adept gets warped in. 3 batteries finish up. Do we have a super battery available? There is energy now. GG gets called as Zest wins game number 2 within 4 minutes and 24 seconds. Fantastic hold here on Hardwire for Zest. And after a game like that, where it feels like everything's kind of going okay for your build order and doesn't end up working out, it feels pretty bad for soO. I can only imagine that it must feel pretty bad. I mean, none of that got scouted until the very last second, and yet Zest managed to have a very clean hold. Like, that wasn't actually that close. I really did believe that Zest was going to straight up die. I mean, if you don't scout it, once again, kind of showing that these early game cheeses against Protoss just not that powerful. That is really an issue. This is going to be a 15 hatch. This time Zest is in time though. And that means that we'll need to see an extra drone being produced. Now this drone was delayed. Might even need to see 1 extra drone here. No, hatchery already gets built and we see the next drone coming in. So there's going to be a 16 hatch on the 3rd base location. Going for the triangle setup rather than the line setup. This is the most common setup these days in this matchup. There are some risks, of course. Adept on the high ground can attack, I think, 4 patches here, maybe even 5, maybe even 6. Just know that these patches, these 4 for sure, are extremely vulnerable. Makes it really easy if you shade up here. Queen need to come into action, need to jump into action to deal with that, and you need to have like 4 links on the high ground as well, so that can make life very tricky for Zerg. At the same time, we see Zest actually throwing down that Nexus. What's he doing? For a second I believed he was going to send a second probe out on the map, maybe to proxy, but he decided against it. I'm not quite sure what that was exactly, honestly. Fairly odd. Weird start here for Zest. He's getting that cybernetics score now though, and we'll have to wait and see exactly what his follow-up plans are going to be. So we're just watching this game unfold. Pool's going to finish up. We'll see the queens get produced as well. And the initial links. 4 links, 2 as well from this hatchery. Now that doesn't look super odd perhaps, but you can also decide to only build links from the main base. That way the drones only will get built from the natural. That means that they have less walking distance and that you have more money. So this drone would then instead spawn at your natural base. That way it wouldn't have to make the entire hike over towards that base. I think it's like maybe a 12, probably like a 10 mineral difference or so. But it is 10 minerals anyway, you know, like every little bit of money matters in this type of scenario. In the early game where you really can be as tight as you want. It seems like soO doesn't really care too much. Baling nest, oh my god, you gotta be kidding me. I didn't even know this type of build still was viable. I mean, last game was a 2-base roach push. That wasn't viable. Now we're seeing a 2-base baling bust. Well, this is with a third hatchery. But it is a fake third hatchery, basically. Like, there's absolutely no way that soO will be mining from that third hatch in this game. Or, well, maybe eventually, but not anytime soon. This base isn't even close to being saturated at this point. Double adepts get sent out. Just making sure that nothing weird is happening. It's like, hey, is anything odd happening? And this is free. Don't forget, sending out shades is free. So that's free scouting information. Just making sure that nothing odd is happening here. Look at that. There they go again. soO is seeing that. He's going to build these banelings here on the bottom side and is not going to get spotted. Void Ray is out already. That means that soO will actually get supply blocked. We see a bunch more links on the way right now. A second Overlord is going to get taken out. This is extremely painful. I don't actually think soO has the money to build more Overlords and definitely doesn't have the supply available to build more links at this point. Here come the banelings moving in. Zest with the response. Are you in time? Well, probes are getting pulled, but there's still a single baneling here as well. Warp Gate is about to finish up. All of these probes are going to get hit. 17 workers go down immediately. Violence going to get targeted down. I do believe that soO needs to get slightly more here. There's a third base already on the way for Zest as well. This is a lot of workers going down though. 15 workers remain here for Zest. I don't think soO can actually continue attacking. I think soO needs the drone behind this. This is a mistake, building more links right now. You've dealt a lot of damage. This should have all been drones. Rather than 20 links, we should have had 10 more drones. In that case, you're 30 workers against 18. Yeah, that is a game that is completely over if you have more than one queen at home. And there is more than one queen at home. There's 2 queens at home. I think continuing to build more and more links and more banes is a mistake. This is the only way that Zest could actually come back into this game. And now with this defense, Zest actually looks okay. All of these banelings are going to bust. And yeah, this is okay. This is fine. This actually is fine. At the same time, 5 workers get taken out on soO's side of things. Is there enough money for real? They cancel the Nexus. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. No cancel on that Nexus. It's 15 workers against 24. Now it's soO that's completely all in. Do we have another force field available? Yes, we do. One more force field. Can we get some backup walls? Zest just finishing that Nexus is absolutely mental in my opinion. Oracle does get home. We'll take out a couple of these links. It's going to run out of energy pretty soon though, but not before taking out all of these links. 49 supply against 31. It seems even with that third base finishing up, Zest is holding. And for a second time in a row, soO with a cheese. This time it initially worked, but then the follow-up was more links and banes, and he actually ended up dying because of that. He kind of killed himself more so than Zest killing him. 16 works against 31. GG gets called as game 3 goes in favor of Zest as well. After losing the 1 macro game, soO decides, you know what, macro is too easy. Let me try the cheese of 2 bases and fails twice in a row. And over here in game number 4, we'll see if soO can switch this around. Because after, well, these last 2 games, he's actually down a game. Starts with a hatch first on the gold. It is Blackburn. And this was considered a good map for Zerg until the patch hit. And since the patch hit, of course, we know that Protoss has been a lot more capable of taking map control. And as a result can park part of the army behind the gold mineral line. With the army behind the gold mineral line, guess what you can do? Exactly, you can deny mining over there. Now, soO kind of found a way around it and says, well, what if I take my gold as the first base? That way, you can only go there with maybe the initial 2 adepts. Ooh, Zest. Okay, I like that. So, for the people that don't know what I'm liking, this is a core before Nexus. That means that the first adept is going to be out a solid 10 seconds faster than it usually is. soO doesn't scout that. That could actually be trouble. That means you're going to be allowed to deny the mining on this gold base for 10 extra seconds. And earlier as well, which is huge. So way less mining. We don't see a worker transfer whatsoever here out of soO. Okay, I am fairly confused at this point. I really am. Now we see a couple of workers transferring, at least from the gas. Usually you transfer way more initially, so you can kind of get a head start on that gold mining. You want to get that as fast as possible, of course, as the gold minerals provide more money than the blue minerals. First adept makes its way across the map. soO should see this and say, hey, that's odd. That's way too fast. That's not quite what I'm used to. We're not seeing a spine crawler or anything of the sort being constructed right now. There is, however, a Stargate on the way. That Stargate went down at 220. That's a very fast Stargate from a core first as well, I have to admit. Zest is doing a good job here in the early game. I like it a lot. I really do like it a lot. Stalker as a follow-up behind the second adept. We have a chrono on that Stalker. Okay, I am kind of lost as to what I'm seeing right now. Okay, the second adept is going to make his way across the map. I guess Zest is extremely afraid of a run by. That's why we see this this bad boy being chronoed. I actually believe this was a mistake. soO forgot his third overlord, or his fourth overlord. What is this? The fourth overlord now has to build 2 overlords. I don't think this was on purpose. It's going to be floating a fair chunk of money, and 5 larvae as well at the same time. We'll need to use it immediately. 2 more queens are being produced. 3rd queen is out. You see lots of creep spread over here as well already. Oracles being popped out too. The Stalker will continue on its journey to try and kill this Oracle. I have a feeling that the Stalker is not quite going to succeed. 10 links are out, and that is annoying because that of course means that there's less workers out than soO would have liked. However, with that gold mining, it's not the end of the world really. 3rd base is already done on the natural base location. Natural base is of course on the gold base location. There's going to be 3 queens soon, and we'll have to wait and see what Zest is planning on doing here. Is it going to be just taking out a couple of drones or a stasis ward? And the answer is going to be take out a couple of drones. 3 worker kills is a pretty okay trade here. A little bit of energy, a little bit of hull HP as well. Of course all the shields managed to disappear too. 2nd Oracle, 3rd Oracle, 2nd Stargate. Are we seeing Mass Oracle here, or is this Triple Oracle into Void Ray? Is this Triple Oracle into Phoenix, or is this Triple Oracle into more Oracles? That's the question right now that I'm asking. 3 more workers do get down, taken out here by these Oracles. 4 adepts move out as well, and that means that this area is going to be really difficult to hold for soO. I like where Zest's head is at. He says, hey, if I can control this area behind your mineral line with oracles and adepts, you can't mine from that base. And what is the best way to control it with adepts? Well, it's actually fairly simple. It's by having a lot of oracles above that area, because what can you send over here that can deal with these adepts? That's either going to be queens that have to walk around, then you leave your base vulnerable, so it probably will need to be lynx or roaches. But if you have 4, 5, maybe even 6 oracles, that is completely not viable. So right now soO is like, well, this sucks. This really does suck. 2 more oracles on the way. That's going to bring the total up to 6. We do have a 3rd base on the way finally, 5 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. But this is completely okay. This is actually fine. And these adepts once again move in. Yeah, of course. Why not? 4 oracles here as well. Start targeting down these queens. I think this is game. I actually believe that this is game. 1 more queen is going to get taken out. More drones will fall as well. There's still plenty of energy on all of these oracles. This spore could even get targeted down, but instead every single drone will fall, and now the spore gets targeted down on top of that as well. Could have been a cancel, but it is not. 1 more queen is going to show up, will also fall as a result. 12 workers have gone down. This 3rd base does not need to be defended anymore. There's a battery at home already. I think Zest is aware of the fact that this is completely all in here out of soO. soO is only on 30 workers against 48 right now. There is so many oracles as well, and oracles are a great asset. Sure, at this moment they don't have any energy, but energy comes back for free, and in half a minute or maybe a minute from now, all of these oracles will have plenty of energy and will be capable of harassing again. And at that point there's going to be 8 oracles, maybe even 10 oracles, and there will be, well, maybe 6, maybe 7, maybe 8 queens. But if you have 10 oracles against 8 queens, you can't even defend one side properly. You can't rotate in between the bases, because the 10 oracles will absolutely destroy your queens. Instead, we see a couple of extra roaches in production right now. We have Clio Reconstitution, also known as the Roach Speed, on the way. And we have these 3 more queens, but this is just fantastic here. This is fantastic out of Zest. I love the way that he treated this gold first. He said, hey, you can't actually do this. This isn't okay. And yeah, I just had never thought of that. I never thought of this approach to the gold base on Blackburn. And just really showing that the gold as a first base on Blackburn is not going to be viable. It is just not viable because of this type of stuff. I'm not even sure if the second Stargate was necessary. I think 4 to 5 oracles would have been plenty as well. But, I mean, it is sure great and it looks very fun as well. These adepts are going to shade in. First queen is going to get basically one-shot by these oracles. That looks ridiculous. Ravagers not going to get targeted down. Instead, Zest will just jump on these queens. One queen goes down, second queen goes down, 3 queens. Actually running out of energy at this point, but at the same time soO is running out of queens. These queens will not reincarnate, but the energy will come back. 3 more drones have fallen somewhere. I'm not quite sure where. It seems to be at the gold. 6 drones go down. Fleet Beacon is on the way as well. We're still with 8 oracles against 2 queens. And here comes the Roach counterattack. Carriers in production right now. But I don't even think it's going to be necessary. I actually would have preferred seeing a couple of Void Rays first, just to make sure that you can't die against any type of Roach push. Carriers are going to take a long time to be pushed out here. Third Stargate is already on the way. There's not that much energy on all of these oracles. There's one oracle that actually has a crap ton of energy. Could start using it. There we go. We'll take out one of these Roaches. And the rest of these oracles, I think, should just regain a little bit of energy. Wait until these carriers are out. Send 2 carriers across the map. Use your oracles in unison, or yes, so send out the carriers, use the oracles in unison, and then kill all the queens on the ground. Carrier interceptors will stay alive, and just like that, I think you pretty much win the game. There's absolutely nothing at this point that soO can do. We see more queens being produced, we see more overlords on the way, more roaches on the way, but there's 6 adepts and there's 21 roaches. I'm pretty sure they're already winning the ground fight. The problem isn't the ground, the problem is the air. Spore's going to get targeted down, a lot of drones are going to fall as well, and soO, after playing a fantastic first game, throws away 2 games and throws away his lead by cheesing in the early game. Then in the 4th game takes the gold first, and Zest has the appropriate punishment here. Zest is going to win this series 3-1 with some great defenses and a brilliant response to the gold first here on Blackburn. That's going to be it for me today in this best of 5. Thanks all so much for watching. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see all of you next time for a new video. Thanks so much for watching, and bye bye.